Hello Melvin and Vorthos Magic the Gathering players, a warm welcome to EDH Scout. Today we will examine the card pool of the Goblin tribe for board wipes. Every commander deck needs 3 to 5 board wipes in order to be viable. Let's see if Goblins have enough in their card pool. Let's start with some statistics. The Goblin tribe has a total of 15 board wipes in their pool. The maximum flavor points from a single card is 20, with total flavor points 90 and average of 6 points. Most of the cards have red color identity, followed by black, rectus, gruel and colorless with 1 card each. 1 card can destroy all non-land permanents. 10 cards can remove creatures, 3 artifacts and 1 lands. 7 of the cards are damage-based removals and 4 of them can do damage to players as well. And now let's start the review of the board wipe card pool for the Goblins tribe. The first card has 4 flavor points and removes all the non-land permanents. This is Boompile. Boompile is a 4-mana colorless artifact that has the activated ability to tap and flip a coin. If you win the flip, all the non-land permanents are destroyed. This card received its first printing in the Commander 2016 product. In Mystery Boosters during 2020 received a reprint. The rulings for this card include that if flip a coin as Boompile's ability resolves, no player may take actions between seeing the result of the flip and all non-land permanents being destroyed. If you win the flip, Boompile is destroyed along with all the other non-land permanents. Now we will have a look to another board wipe with a random effect. It scores 4 points in the flavor scale and can destroy creatures. Let's see. Last One Standing. Last One Standing is a 3 CMC sorcery in Rakdos colors. It destroys all creatures except 1, which is chosen at random. The only printing so far was in 2018 in Vandalblist. The rulings of this card include: the creature chosen at random isn't targeted, so an opponent's creature with hexproof can be chosen this way, and players can't take actions between the time a creature is randomly chosen and the time the rest are destroyed. Next board wipe on our list with 4 flavor points is Puppet's Verdict. It is a red instant, which costs 3 mana, and asks you to flip a coin. If you win the flip, all the small creatures with power 2 or less are destroyed. If you lose the flip, all the big creatures with power 3 or more are destroyed. The only printing of this card was in 1999 in Mercadian Masks set. Puppet's Verdict works very nicely with Kirk's Thumb, which helps you decide the most beneficial coin flip for you. Kirk's Thumb has 5 points in the Goblin tribal scale, which makes this interaction very flavorful. Next on our list, with 4 flavored points, is Final Revels. Final Revels has only 1 printing, in Lore 1 in 2007. It is a black sorcery at 5 mana, which allows you to either give a bonus of 2 power to all creatures, making it a good finisher, or giving a toughness reduction of 2 to all creatures, working as a board wipe for small creatures. Final Revels interacts with Sudden Spoiling nicely, but unfortunately this card is not in the flavor card pool for the Goblins. Another board wipe with 4 flavored points is Fire Spout. Fire Spout is a sorcery for 3 mana, which deals 3 damage to each creature with, or without flying, depending which color of mana you spend when cast. It deals 3 damage to each creature if both red and green mana was spent to cast. The first printing was in Shadowmoor set in 2008. Next printing was in the Commander 2011 pre-constructed decks. In 2014 received another printing which did not use this Jeff Miracota's. Artan is not in our list. A few clarifications were made in 2016. The spell cares about what mana was spent to pay its total cost, not just what mana was spent to pay the hybrid mana symbol in its cost. The spell checks on resolution to see if any mana of the appropriate colors was spent to pay its cost. It doesn't matter how much mana of that color was spent, the effect isn't multiplied. If this spell is copied, the copy will not have had any colors of mana paid for it, no matter what colors were spent on the original spell. Another board wipe for goblins, with 4 flavored points is Tremor. Tremor is a 1-mana sorcery, which deals 1 damage to each creature without flying. The first printing did not have any goblin involved in the art, but the second one in 1998, in Portal Second Age, depicts this little but powerful goblin that can shake the ground. In 1999 Tremor received another 2 printings, in 6th edition, and in Start in 1999. The same art, by Pete Venters, was used in a later printing in 2003, in 8th edition, with different flavor text though. The oldest card in our list is Earthquake. It has 4 flavored points as well. Earthquake is an X spell with CMC of 1. It's a sorcery which deals X damage to each player, and each creature without flying. It is a very good board wipe, that can be used as a finisher as well. The first printing of Earthquake was back in Alpha, in 1993, but the first art that was Goblin related was later in Portal, in 1997. In 1998, in Portal Second Age, a different art by Jeffrey Bush was used. During 2009, in Magic Core Set 2010, the previous art by Adrian Smith was used again. That was followed by 5 more printings in Commander exclusive products, using the new Magic the Gathering card frame. A clarification was made in 2004, which stated that, whether or not the creature is without flying, is only checked on resolution of this spell. The last board wipe with 4 flavored points, that destroys creatures is Disorder. Disorder is a narrow white-hate board wipe. For 2 mana, Disorder deals 2 damage to each white creature, and each player, who controls a white creature. In Oz's Saga set, in 1998, the flavor text mentions a battle report by a Goblin Raider. In 2004, the rulings for this card mention that players take 0 or 2 damage. Disorder does not do 2 damage per creature to the player. Now let's move on to board wipes that destroy artifacts, with 4 flavored points. Next on our list is the powerful Vandalblist. Vandalblist is a 1 CMC sorcery that destroys an artifact you do not control. You may cast it with the overload cost, which is 5 mana, and destroys all artifacts you do not control. The original printing was in 2012, in the Return to Ravnica set. Vandalblist had another printing, in the Commander 2015 pre-constructed decks, in the new card frame. In 2013, Vandalblist had many rules clarifications. If you don't pay the overload cost of a spell, that spell will have a single target. If you pay the overload cost, the spell won't have any targets. Because a spell with overload does not target when its overload cost is paid, it may affect permanents with hexproof or with protection from the appropriate color. Overload does not change when you can cast the spell. Note that if the spell with overload is dealing damage, protection from that spell's color will still prevent that damage. Casting the spell with overload does not change that spell's mana cost. You just pay the overload cost instead. Effects that cause you to pay more or less for a spell will cause you to pay that much more or less while casting it for its overload cost too. If you are instructed to cast a spell with overload without paying its mana cost, you cannot choose to pay its overload cost instead. Vandalblist combos nicely with Mycosynth Lattice, as you can destroy all opponents' permanents. This combo is very powerful, but not flavorful or fun. Another artifact board wipe for goblins, with 4 flavored points is Granulate. Granulate had his only printing in 2004, in 5th Dawn set. It is a 4 mana, red sorcery, that destroys each non-land artifact, with CMC 4 or less. Last on the artifact board wipes, with 4 flavored points is Doretti's favorite, Scrap Mastery. Scrap Mastery is a 5 CMC sorcery that forces everyone to sacrifice all their artifacts, and return all artifacts that were previously in their graveyards to the battlefield. With a good preparation of your graveyard, This can be a fantastic game-changing spell for the Goblin Artificer's deck. Scrap Mastery was firstly printed in Commander 2014 decks. Then it was reprinted in 2018, in Commander Anthology Volume 2. In 2014, there was a rules clarification which stated that exiled this way refers to the exile instruction that's part of Scrap Mastery's effect. If the sacrificed artifacts are instead exiled because of a replacement effect, those cards won't be put onto the battlefield. Let's move on to the only land board wipe for the Goblin tribe, with 4 flavored points: Impending Disaster. Impending Disaster is a 2-mana enchantment that during your upkeep, if there are 7 or more lands in play, you sacrifice Impending Disaster and destroy all lands. The spell, if you play around it, can be devastating for your opponents, but you will not be very popular after this play. The first printing of this card was in 1999, in Urza's Legacy set. And 21 years later, it was reprinted in Mystery Boosters. In 2004, there were 3 rulings for this card. This ability does not trigger at all. If there are not 7 lands on the battlefield at the beginning of upkeep, it checks this number again when it is going to resolve and does not do anything if the land count is below 7. The ability is not optional. If this card is not on the battlefield at the time its ability resolves, then you can't sacrifice it. However, you still destroy all lands. This card combos nicely with Bloodchief Ascension and Dingus Egg. With these on the battlefield you can do tons of damage to your opponents. Let's move further up the list, with 8 flavored points: Kraklan Shaman. Kraklan Shaman is a 1/1 Goblin Shaman from Mirrodin. He is only 1 CMC, and has the ability to sacrifice an artifact to deal 1 damage to each creature without flying. He is a free artifact sacrifice outlet, but he will kill himself when he uses his ability. He was only printed once, in the Mirrodin set, in 2003. Next on the list is Goblin Chain Whirler, with 14 flavor points. Goblin Chain Whirler is a 3/3 Goblin Warrior, with first strike. When he enters the battlefield, he deals 1 damage to each opponent, and each creature and planeswalker they control. He was printed in 2018, in the Dominaria set. If the damage Goblin Chain Whirler would deal to a player is prevented, it still deals 1 damage to the player's creatures and planeswalkers. In a 2-headed giant game, the Goblin Chain Whirler's last ability causes the opposing team to lose 2 life. A nice trick is to give Goblin Chain Whirler Death Touch. With this ability he can destroy the entire battlefield. And on the top of our list, with 20 flavored points, is Kirk Fire Marshal. This 2/2 Goblin from Dominaria, with CMC of 5, has protection from red, and has the ability to tap 5 untapped goblins, to deal 10 damage to each creature and each player. This ability can be used as a nice board wipe, as it will take down most of the creatures on the battlefield. It can be used as a finisher as well. The first printing of Kirk Fire Marshal was in 2002, in the Onslaught set. The next printing was in 2007, in the Dual Deck series, Elves vs Goblins. The final printing with a new frame was in 2014, in the Dual Decks Anthology. All of the printings so far are using this amazing art by Greg and Tim Hildebrandt. The rulings from 2004 mention that, as his ability does not have the tap symbol, it can be used the same turn as he enters the battlefield, and it can tap itself, but is not required to do so. Note that as he has protection from red, he will survive from his ability. He is an expert of getting out of the way, as the flavor text mentions. A nice trick is to give him lifelink, and gain a lot of life. Unfortunately, there is no Goblin card to provide it yet. And these are all the board wipes for the Goblin tribe. Kirk Fire Marshal keeps the title of the maximum flavor in the Goblin tribe. For the board wipes, Boom Pile is the most versatile board wipe. as it can destroy all non-land permanents from the battlefield, and keeping the chaotic and risky nature of goblins, with the coin flip ability. And the best art is this one by Pete Venters, which is used in Tremor. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you soon for more dryable flavor.